Okay, so welcome everybody, and thanks for joining our lunch talk today. While people are still logging in, I'll start with a quick introduction to the SciComm Academy. So my name is Danielle, and I'm the project manager of the SciComm Academy at SciMingo. So for those of you who are new here, SciMingo is a Belgian nonprofit organization based in Brussels, and we are dedicated to helping researchers like you to take their first steps in science communication. And to support this mission, we have several initiatives, such as the Flemish PhD Cup. And we actually announced the selection for the PhD Cup this week. So check out phdcup.be if you want to see who made it and what their stories are. And then under SciMingo, we also host the SciComm Academy, and that's me. So at the Academy, we offer hands-on training to help you sharpen your science communication skills and to share your research story with broader audiences. So we have a lot of hands-on courses, including things like presenting on stage, podcasting, popular science writing, and more. And now our courses for the fall season are almost fully booked. But we'll be launching the dates for spring 2026 very soon. So check out our website for the last available spots, or subscribe to our newsletter if you want to stay tuned. And to make that a bit easier for you, you can see two floating QR codes on my fake office background. So the Periwinkle one, I have to see because it's mirroring. The Periwinkle one will lead you to the course page on our website where you can check out our courses. And then this one, the salmon pink one, yes, I colored them for you, will lead you to the subscription page of our newsletter. So there you can stay tuned and stay informed about our lunch talks like this session and our courses. Because yes, besides the courses, we host these monthly lunch talks where experienced science communicators tell their story and share their inspiration around science communication. And today's lunch talk session features Siska Van Parys. Welcome, Siska.
Hi, thank you.
And Siska studied biology at the University of Ghent. And then she actually immediately began her career as a science communicator at the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Sciences. And together with her colleagues, Siska works on something called like long form science communication. And that's what we're going to talk about. But just, first, like a question for you, Siska, like why did you choose this career path after studying biology?
Yeah, it's not that I knew that it was an option when I graduated, but I did know that I couldn't really choose one specific topic. Like many of my colleagues who graduated with me started PhDs or they really had a clear obsession with a certain animal group but I wasn't like that because I kind of started biology because I wanted to learn more about life in general, like almost from a philosophical point of view. So I didn't see myself really doing research like on one very, very specific topic. Like what is the classical career maybe of a biologist. So I didn't even start to look around. It was a friend of me who sent me the vacancy here at as a science communicator, a junior science communicator. And she said, "Yeah, I think it's something for you." And I thought, yeah, it's true. Actually, it's with a lot of writing. It has the human side as well. I don't have to choose a topic because they have so many different topics, right? So I can learn about everything. I don't have to choose. So that's how I ended up doing this. And after 7 years, I'm still here.
Very nice. Yeah. That means you're having fun there and
Yeah.
enjoying. Yeah. And we talked a bit about like which topic to pick for this lunch talk specifically. And then we started talking about the concept of slow science communication. So maybe you can explain a bit why you chose this topic for this lunch talk today.
Yeah, it's actually something I'm only recently starting to give a name. I mean, it's not a revolutionary name or anything, but it's for myself. It's kind of personal because, as I said, I've been here 7 years already, and there have been moments that I really thought this is not the right job for me because it's very quick often because the media is just working very quick. Also social media, when there's a press release, we often hear about a publication when it's already published. So there's this rush of getting the interview with the scientist, all the imagery, getting it into the press. And for me, it was often very stressful. And I noticed that often I was more relieved that it was over than that I got satisfaction from doing it. So I thought sometimes like, okay, maybe I'm actually not really cut out for the job. Like I managed to do it, but I sometimes it's so intense. I kind of suffered, and then actually I'm starting to realize in the past years, thanks to certain projects that I will talk about later, that it's not that I'm not made to be a science communicator. It's just that maybe I prefer a different way of communicating, like more slower stories, more in-depth and more long-term material, and that also those have a right to exist or are actually very valuable. And it's not one or the other, both are super important, but I kind of want to show a bit like how we do this here at the Institute of Natural Sciences, and yeah, what I think is the value of putting time into it, even though sometimes it can feel like it's not urgent, but I think it's still important.
That's very nice. So like as you start up because Siska prepared a beautiful presentation. I saw it already yesterday a bit. So while you start it up, I will give like a practical note to everybody that's joining us today. So if you have any questions during this talk, please drop them in the chat. And then after Siska's presentation, we will have a little Q&A and we can discuss your questions after the talk. So yeah, feel free to interact with us in the chats, and we'll get back to you later.
Do you see the presentation? Is
Yes.
everything okay?
And
Great.
I see you as well.
Yeah, I don't see anyone, but I feel your presence. Yeah, so I kind of already introduced myself and Danielle too. So I think it's clear that I work as a science communicator at the Institute of Natural Sciences. And I think many people know this institute because of the museum, because we have, of course, the Museum of Natural Sciences. And many people have visited it with school or as a child, maybe with your family, maybe with your own children, or just as an adult. And we have, of course, our very famous iguanodons, our Belgian iguanodons of Vernissage. And it's a fantastic museum. But so I don't work for this museum. I actually work for all the other parts of the institute. And many people don't really know they exist. Maybe you guys, you're of course a more specialized audience, so probably you already had an idea. And so I work for everything that's kind of behind the scenes. So we often say that our museum is the showroom of the institute. And so that's what is public and what people can see. But behind the doors and behind the walls of the museum, there are a lot of researchers working, and we have an enormous collection of natural history items, specimens. And so we have 200 scientists working on all kinds of topics. I will explain a bit more about that later. And we have 38 million specimens in the collection. So I can't even imagine. So they are all hidden here in our buildings, not for the public to see, sadly. So our topics are, of course, often a bit linked to the classical topics of a natural history museum, evolution of life, of the different groups that have lived or are still alive. Taxonomy is linked to that, of course. Biodiversity, paleontology, of course, everything dinosaurs, but also other animals and also plants who lived in the past, a lot of fossils. And then we have archaeologists as well who work more on the human aspect. and a lot of marine scientists, also linked to the North Sea. We have a lot of research and monitoring as well, and geology as well. We also have we host the Geological Survey of Belgium here, so we have a lot of geologists. And then the collections, so I think you can see my cursor. So here in this tower in the front of the building, so this is the entrance of the museum. And then there's this tower, and that's the collection tower, so where we store these 38 million specimens. And it's really a magical place for me, for everyone who comes there, I think. Yeah, it's full of these magical, beautiful wooden drawers, and every drawer has new treasures inside. So here on this picture, you see there's a part of the shell collection. There's a lot more than just those. So every drawer has sometimes very big, sometimes very small shells, all with a little name tag and where they were collected. And then there's also the wet collection, so stored in jars, which is also very, very beautiful. And just a in-between little advertisement, you can also visit these, but you have to book it. And I put a link here. I don't know if we can share the presentation after, but you can easily find it on our website. They're like behind the scenes tours in the collections on measure. So only if you book them, but I really recommend, because the museum is amazing, but this is really very special place.
We can share the links for sure, like in the
Yeah.
and afterwards and under the video. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, but even if you just Google behind the scenes tour, you can probably find it. And then, so these collections, it's all kinds of stuff that have been alive or are still alive. Well, of course, the collections are not, but the species possibly. So we have a lot of insects and spiders and other related animals in the entomology collections. Then we have invertebrates as well, vertebrates. Then our anthropology and prehistory collection with human remains and also ancestors of humans and also Neanderthals. Then the paleontology collections, yeah, dinosaurs, fossil whales, crocodiles, also plants, as you can see here on the image, and very beautiful big geology collections. So that's my job. We have a team of communication, and a part of the team works for the museum. I didn't put them on this slide now because, of course, we will focus on the science communication part. And Reinout and me, probably many of you already know Reinout. He has been here in the institute as a science communicator already several years before me, and I actually learned everything communication and journalism from him, because I arrived here fresh from biology, the biology master. I had no idea what a press release even was. Honestly, I had no clue, and so he taught me everything I had to know. And so we are the team who does most of the communication on the more traditional natural history topics and the collections. And then there's also Kalle Moreau. He works more specifically on marine topics, and I think some of you might recognize him from TV because he's often called by journalists when there's a stranding, for example, like last week with the minke whale. Or related to topics of our research vessel, the Belgica. He's the expert on everything North Sea and communication about it, of course. And then I highlighted also people that are not in our team officially, but that are very important for what I'm about to tell. So there's Stijn, Greet, and Stefan, and they work at originally their job was only making videos and animations for the exhibitions. So they are part of the exhibitions team, so really the museum team. But in the last years, we've been collaborating more and more because, of course, images and video have become more and more important. And so we looked in-house to find people who were, really good at this. Instead of learning everything from scratch by ourselves, which is, I think, impossible, we collaborated with them. So more and more we are working cross teams, also between museum and SciComm. And so I put a picture here of Stan from a very nice project we did together 2 years ago that I will explain in the next part. But first, I want to emphasize that it's not that I think what I would say, traditional fast science communication, press releases, reactive to the press, social media, that it's not important, or that I think we shouldn't do it or something. Like, we really have to. It's super important. And we also do a lot of this. For example, a recent press release, relatively recent, was about research of our archaeobotanists who wrote a publication about natural dyes in the Middle Ages that they studied because of plant remains they found in Brussels, and that was a very interesting topic that got a lot of press attention thanks to a classical press release. And then there's also, of course, the reactive press, or in this case, it's not even, it's really just a natural event happening. The stranding of the minke whale last week. That's Kelle who helped to dig a hole around the minke whale so he would stay wet and to keep him alive. And he helped to get him into the water again. Then sadly we heard that he didn't survive in the end. After a few days he washed ashore, and they didn't manage to save him. But just to say, this is the kind of reactive, very fast science communication we do, and it's very important, I think. The same is for how we often, on social media, sometimes it can be intense, but it's of course a great way of getting a lot of information to a lot of people, and in a quick way. And one of the examples is, for example, the discovery of this fossil whale. So it's a whale ancestor. It's one of our researchers, Olivier Lambert, who published about this, but the publication kind of arrived a bit earlier and quite suddenly. Even he didn't really expect it, because he was on holiday somewhere in the mountains and he didn't even have a decent reception. And then all of a sudden there was this news, and we knew it was going to be world news. It was like probably the heaviest animal ever. Everyone knew about this. In the world, they were just going to pick up on the news. So if we didn't jump on it, we were going to miss this opportunity. It was our research. So then my colleague Reinout, he, together with Stefan from the exhibitions, they made this video, and it's one of our most viewed videos on YouTube, because we were on time, and it went around the world with this news. So of course there is these kind of moments that you need to take them, because otherwise you miss out on a great opportunity. But this kind of quick communication, I think, is sometimes what is sometimes hard for me, is that you really need to. People don't have the attention span, of course, to they want the news. Right, and so on social media, for example, you have to reduce your content to a few sentences, like we do with these carousel style posts on Instagram. So they're like 4 to 5 slides in which you tell the whole news with some images. So in a few sentences, you have to reduce your topic, and you often lose a lot of nuance. And of course, it works because, people don't need a lot of time. The content is pre-digested for them, and they look at it, and often these are posts that work really well. But I do miss often the time to make something with more more in depth, and something with more long-term value as well, because this is nice, like you get it out on time, it's there, it has success, and then the next day it's actually gone and it's old. So that's why I think it's also important that we don't forget about the other type of communication, which here I call a slow science communication. And I just want to use a lot of examples of projects that we did in the past years to show a bit like how we approach this idea of the slow science communication. And we do this in parallel with this fast science communication. It's not that we say like, okay, we stop fast science communication, now we go slow. It's always something we do a bit in parallel. But I think we do more and more actively take the time for it, like also prioritize it, because of course it's easy to get lost into all the urgent news and the urgent matters that have to be done quick. But sometimes I think it's important to say, okay, no, actually I was going to work on this long-term project. No one is actually pushing me to do this, but I think the value is going to be very high in the future, and it will be something that we can reuse and reuse a lot of time. So it's worth the effort. Here on the left, you see Stan. I don't know, maybe you saw it on the previous slide I put, he's also a drone pilot. And yeah, that's really something that's a very big added value, because it gives really great images. But I will just show you instead of explaining. So a really, amazing project. I think it was really cool. Is the ROBOMINERS project that it's a project of our geologists. So they are trying to develop a kind of mining robots, tiny robots, who can target specific veins in like ore veins to extract very targeted minerals. Because in Europe, we need a lot of minerals, especially also with the energy transition. And there's the whole problem of the critical raw materials, of raw materials we need to make our technology, our energy technology as well. And the problem is, in Europe, we don't really have space and active mines anymore. So we have to import this from all over the world. And it would be good if we can also have a bit of a resource in Europe. So in the European politicians are more and more aware of that. And so there are also research projects who try to develop ways of reopening maybe old mines, but in a very different way than that they used to do in the past. So in this way, they want to target very specific minerals instead of taking everything in a more direct way. And so this is really a pioneering project. It's not that they're not like ready to use, but this is how this kind of research started. And so it's really a very, I think the topic is interesting because it has a big societal value. It's also technology linked to geology, which I think many people don't think about technology. When you think of a geologist, they think of someone with a hammer. But in this case, it's really very high tech. And so it was nice to be able to show how this works. And so Stan and me, we went along with a field work in Slovenia for a week. And the result is this video. I will not show the whole thing, but a few minutes to prove my point. Oh, this sound.
Sirinus canaria, the canary, a songbird that was still used as a mine gas indicator in European coal mines until 1986. We may have made progress since then, but today many European mines are unprofitable. As a result, many raw materials remain inaccessible for traditional mining. However, demand for these strategic raw materials is higher than ever because mineral resources such as nickel, lithium, germanium, rare earths and so on are vital resources for car batteries, solar panels, wind turbines and more. All technological developments that can help fight climate change. That is why the EU wants to focus on domestic extraction, socially responsible, and with the lowest possible environmental impact. Traditional mining will have to be radically overhauled. Well, it's time for robots to do the dirty work.
In 2019, this EU Horizon 2020 project started. 2 of our geologists got a ticket to ride, along with an international team of robotics engineers, coders, and fellow geologists. 4 years later, they are ready for an ultimate stress test. Within a fortnight, Christian and Georgia will demonstrate their devices in Mežica, Slovenia, deep in the belly of Mount Petra. Georgia goes all out to get her electrical resistivity tomography module, ART for short, on point. She made a mini version of it, ideal for a compact robotic arm. First, the arm is calibrated, and then it's time for a workout.
Meanwhile, Christian is tuning his laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy module, nicknamed the Frog. Its special feature is its ability to map not just a single point, but an outlined surface. Shooting in a straight line seems to be no problem.
A technical readiness level, TRL, was predetermined for both modules developed by our geologists. On the TRL scale of 1 to 9, 0 equals science fiction and 10 is something like Black Friday. Both the LIBS and ERT modules achieve TRL 4, meaning the prototype functions in a test lab. TRL 5 requires the prototype to function in the field.
Okay.
We will also share this link so you can watch the rest of the video if you want to. And so, as you see, we don't really talk about results because we're really in the middle of a research project that's still going on. There actually are no results. There's some preliminary ideas, but we really try to follow the scientists as the science is happening. And what's nice, I think, is that you also see the people behind it and all of the sometimes frustrating situations because it doesn't always go as planned. Also, the fieldwork is really interesting to show. And then, yeah, it's something that has a long-term value because this video isn't relevant as long as critical raw materials are a topic, right? And that's going to be for the next, yeah, I can't say how many years, but it's really an urgent and long-term problem. So that's also why I think we can justify that we spend this time on that, because of course it takes time. We went there for a week. There was a little budget, but honestly, really not so much. I think we just had the planes and the accommodation, which was a goat farm, so nothing luxurious. So in the end, I think for the amount of time and budget we invested, it was really, really worth it. And it's not, what is also nice is that, for example, I, in addition to the video, I wrote this more long read article for EOS. So it came into the printed version of EOS, and I wasn't super stressed to get it finished like as quick as possible. I could take my time, and we went to Slovenia in October 23, and this article was published in March 24. So with a normal science news, I can never take that time. So that's also why it's possible to do this kind of slower SciComm between the fast ones, I think, more gradually, without the strict deadline of a news. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the whole process. Sometimes it can be stressful. Of course, when you promise to EOS, okay, in that edition we're going to print it, you have the deadline, and it's hard work. So the slow is not necessarily about the work; it's more about the content. So that was a great project, and right now I'm also working with Stan on similar project in the sense that, I mean, the science project is not similar, but the way of working is. It's LEAP is the name of the science project. It's called, it's short for Learning from the Past, and it's actually a very interdisciplinary project, and that's also why we found it interesting to show, because it's quite unique in that sense, because there are geologists working together with archaeologists, also different institutes, and they are trying to understand how humans in Belgium have reacted to climate changes in the past. And the past in this case is 10,000 years ago until more recently. So there are several known climate changes, and they are trying to refine their knowledge about those, like when exactly were they happening, what was the reaction of the landscape, or how was the landscape at that moment? Was it drier, wetter, forests, wetlands, stuff like that? And then can we understand how people reacted to these changes? Did they migrate? Did they stay? Was the population bigger, smaller? So there's research in caves for the geology. There's also archaeologists, and some of the images you see here, like this one on top, it's a drone shot that Stijn made, of course, at the caves of Han-sur-Lesse, because there at the entrance, there's a river, and under this river, it's actually a very important archaeological site that has been studied for many, many years. And so some of the material that was found there has been used in the project. For example, here, they're using teeth and bone material that were found there, and using all kinds of very specialized techniques and machinery, they can understand if these people have migrated or not. So there are lots of different disciplines, different people involved, different machinery, different techniques. And so the past year, I think, Stijn and me have been always, like, once in a, let's say 1 or 2 times a month, we went somewhere to film. Then Stijn is working on the footage, and my idea is also in the future to make an accompanying long read piece about the project, but also broader about humans and their in Belgium and their reaction to these climate changes. So in this way, it's quite feasible. Of course, Stijn also needs to have the time, because sometimes with exhibitions it's not possible, but because we know the content will be something more than just showing results, we can spread it out over time, and it's possible for us to do it between other things. So to see this video, we don't have a date yet, but stay tuned. And it's not only a video, because of course it does take quite a lot of time and people to do this, but we also want to have content that is more like accessible on our website for people. And we have a new website since 2023, and we also chose to have a dedicated page, which we call the Discover page, where we can put all of this more long-term, slow science communication content. So there are more overview articles where people can really understand topics like evolution. Here there's some parts about the Bernissar iguanodons. Of course, that's important that we are really the reference on those. But in general, I think I always imagine a kid in school that has to make a presentation. I would love it if they are Googling their topic and they want to do it about the Neanderthals or the iguanodons or evolution, or some specific animal species or whales, that they can end up on our website and find really correct information about that. And I mean, we are really the experts on these topics in Belgium. Of course, there are other, I'm not saying we're the only experts, but of some things we have the experts here, we have the collections. I think we should put the time in making this information accessible for people, and to really share it also on a permanent space on our website. And so, for example, one recent one is this page about taxonomy that I made. It was a student project, and then our volunteer Lucia worked further on it. And so we really used our collections and our scientists as a basis for all the information we put in these articles. But they talk about the general topic of taxonomy, like what is it? Why do we do it? Why is it relevant? And how do we do it? What are the techniques in the past? What are the modern techniques? And so there, this is just the opening page. So there are 7 sub pages. I guess not everyone is going to read it from beginning to the end. The idea is more that you can find your information that you are looking for and use it. Or if you want, you can just read the whole thing. I'm not going to stop anyone. And of course, it's not just text. There are also a lot of images. If we made a video about something, we can connect it, because for example, we have some videos about taxonomy of kind of Taxonomy 101. So we linked all of those. We can also link to news, for example. On the bottom of the page, we can link to the recent taxonomy news, like new discoveries of species. So it's also nice to have this link. And also the other way around, if we have a discovery about something that has to do with this topic, we can also link back to these general pages. So that's also nice, because, for example, also for the geology aspect, like if there's news about these critical raw materials or can even be a political decision, we can always refer back to, okay, but to better understand it, here you have something with reliable information. And in that way, also the views and the reads keep growing, because often these things, they're not stuff that work super well on social media, because they're not like incredible discoveries or something, but their growth curve is more slow but still steady, while the ones of news are, of course, in a peak and then nothing anymore. And then something that I discovered recently, maybe some of you have already dove into that, how do you say it? Already dove into that, is it's called scrollytelling, and I actually discovered it because of this specific page from Nature, and I think I will just show you, because it's so the idea is that you scroll on the page. In this case, it's about the human brain, and so little by little, the information kind of evolves and gets offered to you. So first it's just some text, some basics, but then you see there are already some graphics appearing. And this is one that I really like. For example, when you scroll, there's like the brain, and then the graphics are kind of interactive. So it's really like bit by bit, new information is offered. And I think it's a very intuitive way of presenting information and digesting information. And it kind of has this same, like Danielle said, it hits this sweet spot a bit of what you have on social media, that you're scrolling and you get new information, so your brain is being rewarded all the time. But in this case, it gives actually a kind of a peaceful feeling, because you don't have to choose where am I going to look first. They kind of choose for you, and your attention is automatically drawn to the thing, the thing in highlighted. So yeah, this, of course, it's Nature. I think there have been a lot of people and budget involved in this one. But the tool they used is called, what was the name again? Shorthand? No, short. I
think it was shorthand. Yeah.
Shorthand? Yeah, it sounds weird now when I say it. It's something like that, but so it's written on the bottom of the page, so you can find it back. So I would really like to, I think I made my point here. I'll go back to my presentation. Like that, if I can. Yeah, this bar on top makes me. Oh yeah, thank you. You
Yes.
see it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would really like to try this, because I think for slow content, for long-term content, it's really a great tool. I can't say like, is it really feasible for someone, or do you really need graphical designers? I think you can make a more simple version than what they did in Nature. And so that's something I would really like to try. And I don't know, I wanted to share it as well, because maybe some of you are also inspired to use this as a way of presenting more complex information, especially. I think is perfect like this. And one specific topic I would really like to try it with is actually about whale evolution, because we already did some work on that, because at the Nerdland Science Festival, maybe some of you have visited it. It's an amazing science festival that's every year in Flanders, and we have been there I think almost every edition, at least 5 years in a row. And last year we brought also the topic of whale evolution next to human evolution and meteorites and critical raw materials as well. So there we really also noticed that people really appreciate having this kind of overview topics. Of course, they don't stay hours at our stand. Often the visits are quite fast and short, but still we notice that they really appreciate having this, in that case, also physical experience of touching a fossil and really seeing seeing it explained in a very interactive way in this case. And there, I think, also the border between communication and education becomes more and more vague, because we also rely on our guides, our museum guides, to come with us there. They were explaining everything about human evolution. They brought all kinds of skulls and tools they use for their ateliers in the museum. So in a way, the link between the museum and science communication also becomes stronger in a way, because there's this overlap between communication and education there. And so, as we already kind of prepared this topic, I would really like to try to put this into a scrollytelling story. But that's for next year. I think I will let you know when that happens. We will spread it on social media for sure. And I think what is nice about this scrollytelling is that you can actually integrate it in your website, because it would be sad if we built this beautiful website and then we just start putting content somewhere else. But I think it's possible to kind of integrate it in your website. So that would be ideal. And then to finish, I would like to show you a project that's probably the overview of overviews. It's my colleague Reinoud Verbeke who is working on this since 1 year, I think now, very intensely. So it's not because it's slow science communication that it's not very intense. There's so much work. And he is actually trying to tell the story of the world. So how the world evolved in the geological sense and the paleontological sense, using Belgium as a case study, because in Belgium we are lucky to have layer surfacing of almost all the ages of the Earth, so even the very old ones. And so using these layers that are surfacing, we can tell the story of the whole planet, actually. And you see that there's these 5 beautiful drawings. So there are 5 posters, because the time is he divided the time in 5 eras, kind of. And there will be a podcast, then also an article series. That's definitely long read in-depth articles, and also educational videos to support the content. And I think it's amazing, because it's such a difficult topic to really understand. And yeah, the amount of work that he is putting in to really figure out all the different changes, talk with all the scientists, also look at the different fossil evidence there is for all of this. Also the contemporary applications of some of these layers that are surfacing. Yeah, it's going to be great. So that's really like, if you talk about overview, this is the best example ever. And so I have a little reel. It's more of a teaser to show what they have been doing. I'll try to. Doesn't work, huh? Let me check.
On parlera des végétables, des particules, ce sera là-bas.
Ça marche.
De zetel van het ijzer in het waarschuwing. Ik sta enorm voor de maat. En ik, ja, dat dacht ze horen. En dat doet voor de leven op de plaats. Slijpgranaten vrij te maken.
So a nice amount of drone shots again. And so, yeah, I'm at the end of my presentation. I think I kind of made my point. And so I guess what I want to say is mainly that I think both are very important, both the fast and the slow science communication. And in an ideal team, you have people who have a talent for both. And I was thinking about some kind of metaphor I could put on this. And I really love this picture that you see here on the back of our, that's our staircase that connects the collections and the researchers' offices, kind of. And it's really an incredible place. And there's a whole story to it too. It will be treated in the Planet Belgium podcast as well, because it's actually Belgian marble, red marble, and there are, every step you can see new fossils, and every step has new stories. And of course, there's also an elevator next to it, because there are, I think, 13 floors or something. So it's not that you always want to take all of the stairs, but if you take the stairs, you can find a lot of nice stuff.
Super nice. Thanks a lot, Siska. I think it's really inspiring what you told us. If people have any questions about this or about the concept of slow science communication, please drop your question in the chat and I'll read them out loud. I see we have already one question from Emily, who asks, could you tell me where to find the taxonomy page you showed on the website?
It's a good question. I actually put it online for this occasion because I've been working on it for a long time, because try to add extra images and things like that. And it's possible that there's a bit of a technical issue still to reach the page, but I can try to put the link in the chat.
You can find it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Katrien says, thanks for the inspiring talk. Thanks for being here, Katrien.
Yeah. Thanks, Katrien.
And then Pavel says, thanks, Siska, for the presentation and your work on science communication. One question, can you say, based on your experience, if slow science communication reaches a different group than those who consume fast content, or is it the same people?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can't say that I investigated this really with numbers and statistics, but I do intuitively think that based on the reactions we hear of people on, for example, the ROBOMINERS video, we get a lot of requests from inside the institute now of people who know, oh yeah, you made this video, can you make some kind of video like that also for our project? So I think what's nice is that we also notice that the scientists are very eager to use these more in-depth contents for sharing in their own network. So I think because of the nuance and the depth, we can also reach a more specialized audience and that maybe knows the basics of the topic, but not of the specific fieldwork in this case, or is still interested in seeing other scientists do it. So in that sense, I think we definitely reach a more specialized audience, or people who have already more knowledge or more interest in science in general or in the topic. But on social media, for example, I would have to do a bit of an investigation, but it's a nice idea to do that.
Yeah, indeed. And then Nele asks actually a related question. Do you have clear target groups for your slow communication? So I think that's mostly then if you have a certain project, do you have a clear target audience in mind for this slow science communication? And maybe if we, for example, if we focus on the ROBOMINERS project, was there like a clear target audience defined?
Yeah, yes. It's definitely, I think the difference a bit with our normal topic, normal communication on, for example, on social media, we reach, of course, a lot of families because a lot of people follow us through the museum and the contents of the museum. And we kind of try to use the socials to also give them other information about what's behind the scenes or more in-depth science. And they do really appreciate that. But with these more elaborate projects, our target is more, for example, the audience of EOS, for example, the people who are reading this magazine, who buy it, who have a subscription. So that's not a general museum audience. It's like I said, more the specialized audience who is already interested. And then again, on our website, I do hope, but then through Googling a certain topic, that people who maybe don't know us or didn't think of looking for it with us do end up on our website. Like I said, someone who's trying to make a presentation for a school about a topic, that they would find us through there. So they're also our target audience is also younger children, for example. Of course, the content can be quite complex. We don't adapt it to children necessarily, but we do try to explain it in a way that is still understandable for someone who doesn't have a lot of background knowledge. But of course, it's hard to know why did someone end up on our website. Yeah, I don't know if there are actually people who made the presentation but using our content. Yeah, I would love to know.
That would be cool to know, indeed. But it's nice what you say also about, like we talked about it yesterday as well, that it's also that it's very valuable when researchers actually also explain like the basis of their work and actually the basics, and that gets more of a place within the realms of slow science communication.
Yes, yeah, and it's nice that when then these same scientists do a discovery or publish something that is newsworthy, then we can refer back to the basis, because it's often hard to say like, okay, but why is this news if you don't understand the context of the field, of the discipline, and like, for example, they found a new human ancestor in a place that they didn't expect. But yeah, first you have to know who are the ones that we already know, and why is this special? Like, so to have all of this background, you can't put that in a press article, but you can reference back to other information. Yeah.
Nice. We have a question from Katrien. Can slow science communication create more inclusive spaces for diverse audiences to engage with science?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if that could be a direct result, but I do feel like, for example, what Reinhard is working on to give this kind of overview of the world's geology and the history of our planet and our country from a geological point of view. This is the kind of content that you don't need to know anything about it before, because everything is really explained from scratch, because they're really topics that actually almost no one knows even the basics of. And that's why I think it's also something that can be used in schools, for example, and that a lot of children could be interested in, or can be used as a tool to teach to children. So in that sense, you're not, you don't have to have any knowledge before, you don't have to come from a privileged background where you got, of course, to get into contact with it, yes, but
Yeah.
the content is very accessible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe in that way it can help. But yeah, it's a nice topic to think about. Because we do notice that, like on Nerdland, yeah, it's a very specific audience there. It's a very privileged audience. It's very expensive, and we definitely don't reach a very diverse audience there. So sometimes it would be nice to get it into schools, for example, because it's much more democratic.
Yeah, indeed. And then Merlijn asks and says, I really appreciate the idea of slow science communication, taking the time to engage deeply, travel to places like Slovenia and work thoughtfully. But I'm curious, how do you make this financially sustainable? You know, resources for this kind of work usually come from research projects or other funding sources. Yeah, we already talked a bit about this yesterday.
Yeah, I think I knew that people would wonder, like, okay, but where do you get the budget to do this kind of things?
Yeah.
For now, so for many years we didn't have any budget, like zero science communication budget. All we had was our time. Then we did fight a bit to get a small budget. And I think I can just say how much it is. I think it's about, I don't know how much it was, but not more than 15,000 euro per year to do everything. So also all the social media. It's not related to the museum part, of course, because they have a bigger budget for the promotion of the exposition. I mean, the temporary expo every year, which is also limited. But so we have a small budget, I think, relative to many other communication departments. I don't know, depends where they work, of course. I don't know the budgets of the universities, for example. But we are lucky that we work in a not a small institute, but still relatively small compared to we are 3 people doing science communication, and we have about 200 researchers, so we can still work a bit on measure. So time-wise, in that sense, I think we are lucky. And budget-wise, we do try to convince the scientists, because also they feel that science communication is more and more important. And often in research projects, they get asked, like, what are your outreach outputs or your plans? And so we try to tell them, like, think about us maybe before your project is finished. If we have, for example, a small budget to come along on the expedition, it can be really locally here in Belgium. Doesn't always have to be Slovenia. We try to convince them that it's worth their investment, because often in these bigger projects, 1,000 euro to get a hotel and a stay for a week, it's not even unbelievably much, and they do get something in return, right? Now we also have the proof with the videos that we are making. But so far it has been often a bit of a trade, for example, like, okay, you do this, we can buy some new material with something. So it's case by case, but we definitely don't have big budgets, so we always have to look for solutions. And it's not that we can do 5 of these projects every year. It's, I would say, maybe one or two per year. Yeah.
Being very creative with
Yeah.
that you have, huh? Yeah. Okay. those were the questions. I want to thank you very much, Siska, once again for giving us talk and for your time. It was super
Thank you
inspiring.
for inviting me.
You're welcome. And I want to thank everybody for being present during this lunch talk and for your questions. So yeah, just to close, this session has been recorded and we will publish the replay on YouTube where you can find many more SciComm Academy lunch talks. So if you're curious, go and check that out. We will share some of the links in the email you receive after attending this lunch talk, where we will share the link to the YouTube video and also some of the links that Siska mentioned during the presentation, like for example, that ROBOMINERS video to continue watching that one. And then, yes, you can already maybe save the date for the next lunch talk, which will be on the 17th of October. Then we have the speaker Ingrid van Marion, who will talk about science and policy, so evidence-based policy making. So we'd love to see you and your colleagues there. And then I wish you a very nice day. I hope you enjoyed your lunch and this talk. And see you later. I'll end the session now. Bye-bye.
Bye.